Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Now today is Wednesday, August 21st. This is our second recording of today, so there's an odd chance that this will be a shorter experience, but we're on the Asian account. We have 250 things we have to do. Both involve winning a game. So Druid and Hunter, and then went to Priest. I've been playing Priest for a while here, so let's just hop into a Hunter experience. And I want to play ranked because I want to make sure I have 5 ranked wins before the end of the month. There is a new bundle, by the way, that's come out. It seems like Activision Blizzard is getting more and more desperate for money, so they're selling more and more cards, card bundles, which
versus Gul'dan.
yeah, I definitely wouldn't spend money on Hearthstone at this point. I'm already telling people that probably as soon as the new Marvel game comes out, I'm abandoning Hearthstone, which is probably going to happen a year from now or so. So we are wrapping up things as far as I'm concerned, not trying to invest into this 5-year-old game. We have a decent amount of news still, it seems. My tabs seem to be maybe a little bit out of order, but I think we can go at least an hour here between trying to get victories and covering the news. So let's start covering the news. Gamer Switch has an article, get a job. Eno Games is hiring for a senior Unity developer. That's in Hamburg, Germany. I believe Unity also has released more educational support for teachers to learn Unity themselves, to teach to other students. So there's like a whole new group of educational syllabus style lesson plans that the teachers should start teaching themselves. Unity, I think, is a great language to be teaching kids. There's a very high chance that Unity in some version or form will still be available by the time a kid graduates. It is an industry standard. It's not the Epic Store Unreal Engine, which maybe that would go away, maybe it wouldn't. I doubt it would actually go away, though, by the time kids graduated. But yeah, there's really no better language, or Unity is kind of an overlay language for C#, I believe, if not G#, which is definitely not the languages I was taught. And you'll get further by far by having the Unity overlay software on top of programming core C# or G# programs. And you'll have a finished experience in something that looks like an actual modern game, whereas back in my day I had to hard code everything in C++ in DOS, so all I could draw was black squares and black rectangles, and so all I could program is something like Pong. And even doing that was incredibly difficult because there's no libraries, there's no support, and the teacher didn't have a clue what I was even trying to do. And I would have been a lot more motivated, certainly in my programming classes, had I been able to turn out anything that looked even close to it. I remember I was given a very thick, very large book about programming video games that came with a CD-ROM that had like images and things in there, but then it would have required me to read that giant book, and honestly, that was just never gonna happen. So I didn't get anywhere,
I wonder what this does.
And didn't succeed in that project either. But that's where a lot of programming was when I was being taught programming, is these giant books that you were supposed to read when personally, I was typing and programming in computers because I hated reading books. So education through non-interactive media is not very helpful. Twitch support had something to mention, I suppose. Mods can now see content that was caught by the auto mod along with other messages the user has sent in chat by selecting Messages tab on a profile card. So that's nice. I don't think there actually has been any new shenanigans on Twitch for a while, since the last shenanigans, which still was way too unacceptable that they were promoting porn on Ninja's abandoned Twitch channel. But yeah, it would be much nicer, frankly, if Twitch was putting out a considerable amount of improvements in its service and getting streamers hyped to use its service instead of having to report terrible news about it. Same is true for the Epic Store. If the Epic Store had just good news to say, even if it's not true, or even if they're just conveniently ignoring all the bad news, it would look better, certainly, to the average person following them on Twitter. LibRetro retweeted the FreeDOS project. FreeDOS is a FreeDOS compatible operating system for IBM PC compatible systems. Let's see. They put out this tweet: I'm looking for developers and software publishers of DOS software from the 1980s and 90s. Now is a great time to re-release your DOS programs as open source software. It builds goodwill and creates positive attention. Contact me and let's talk. And he put his email here. Please share. Inherently, I think releasing old DOS games as open source might be a little hard because they might have used some other licensed software that might still be in effect. But also, I think the bigger issue is most people who made DOS software have either moved on in their lives and would never see this tweet, or are too busy to do anything like that. Or also they've lost the source code, so you can release your binary, I guess, as open source, but it's not really open source at that point. And if it becomes a long project, or even if it's a relatively automated process that decompiles and reverse engineers your source code for your DOS game, which you almost certainly could do. You could almost certainly reverse engineer and decompile a bin without all the comments, without all the original source files, and the parts that get ignored when a compiler compiles a program into an executable. Your code's not worth a lot there. Code in general from those times probably isn't worth a lot anyways. The one thing I could think is that it might be a situation where a few programmers did some really interesting low-level coding elements, but most developers probably did nothing worth mentioning. I have like everything I need except for a minion. Gamasutra has an article. There's a rumor/report. I'm gonna editorialize and say rumor that the Apple Arcade monthly subscription will cost $4.99. Okay. Nothing I saw as an exclusive at the Apple Arcade really caught my attention though, so that's not something I'm gonna ever really deal with.
Like to play with fire?
Job's done.
Let's see. Next, we have a game called Westworld Awakening. This is the game that is an advertisement. Now, this requires VR, and it's $29.99. I wouldn't be surprised if this was a PlayStation exclusive first. You're in a weird position here because it has the funding of Warner Brothers Interactive behind it as a publisher. This might be a good-looking, interesting VR experience, but it is also an advertisement for Westworld, the HBO series. So if you don't have HBO, you can see every single image here has HBO in it. One hopes that you're not getting watermarked with HBO content throughout the entirety of the game. I guess that's not being done in the video. Why they're watermarking the screenshots on here makes no sense. Again, these are advertisements, screenshots that can't be copyrighted. So why are you doing that, HBO? Nobody else does that. I guess I have to put this on the follow list. If you have a VR headset and you don't mind spending twice as much as you probably should on a VR game, this might be a high quality one to experience.
Quickly.
In a field where there really isn't a lot of high quality experiences. I can only really put it on the follow list though because it's a VR game, and as I've said many times before, I seriously doubt I'll ever buy a VR game. Okay, so I got a victory before, and I didn't see the counter go up as far as ranked victories, so I don't think I need ranked victories either. Yeah. So I can just play Priest and on casual here instead of ranked and save myself some frustration. Gematsu has an article here. Viz Media and Rose City Games have announced a pixel graphic adventure game called Garden Story for the PC. Viz Media, more known for publishing manga and anime than video games. But Viz Media has certainly tried to go in different realms.
The light shall bring victory.
Well, I think it was Viz that at one point was having people post their fan mangas on a website and then potentially stealing it and not paying people much of anything, if anything, to publish those ideas. Looking at this trailer, there could be a game here, or it could just be a generic RPG, Zelda clone. Even if it is a generic Zelda clone, if it's just a little bit in quality, that's not terrible. It's coming out in spring 2020, so there's a chance, to say the least. There is a chance that this would be a good game. Of course, it's kind of a hype article at this point, since it's not anywhere close to coming out. And I probably should get a lot better at getting back to basics and just saying, let's just talk about the games that actually are out and not talk about games that are potentially coming out 3 months, 6 months, a year from now. Speaking of games that actually are out, we have something called the Gadget Twins here that has a cutesy, cartoony art style to it, but looks like it is just a shooter game with weird attacks. This almost feels like a proof of concept student project of a game, and I would almost, I would argue, the proof of concept fails here. The idea of flying planes and then having little boxing gloves come out of the front of their planes to hit enemies really destroys the concept of a shooter. This is a Pico interactive game, so this might be a really old game, which would explain the graphics and the sidewalls too. $3.19 discounted, English, full audio. Like most Pico interactive games, unfortunately, it's not something that is a relevant enough old game to be interesting or to make you really want to cover it. Next we have a game on Steam called Brain Power Trainer. This is almost certainly a low effort quiz game. Yeah, that's exactly what it seems like, a low effort quiz game. $7.19 discounted, that's way too expensive. English, Polish, Russian, and Ukrainian. I think that very possibly means this is a low effort Russian troll game. They put a picture of themselves. Most people don't do that. Some would call that doxing your team for no reason on Steam, assuming those are really the names, the people. Alright, next game is tag sexual content and nudity, but it seems like it's safe enough here. So maybe the clock is reset here because we have another game of sexual content and nudity. On the other hand, there's always been this long-running belief that the terrible sex games have been allowed on Steam to just try and flood the market with terrible games and drive people away. So you have Kill the Hentai here, which is just a copy-paste cardboard cutout of an anime girl in a low-effort asset flip first-person shooter. Early access, 59 cents discounted, English, full audio. It says nothing here that you would really want to buy. Yeah, I cannot do anything. The problem that we're running into now, it feels like 3 weeks and we're moving into the 4-week mark. It's been a while where we've had just a standard visual novel from a kind of unknown publisher that has adult content. Yeah, it's just been a while since that has happened. Can I do anything? So I just should copy this. And that's pretty much all I can do. So what I would like to see is just a Japanese visual novel that's a mature rated, tagged sexual content and nudity. I've seen a couple of visual novels that have allegedly come out, but I've somehow overlooked them, that have uncensored patches if you go to their website. So that would be the old way of doing things. If Valve is really back to that, fine. They should just be honest and say that. We had the Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash Ball, which that's such a big developer that I'm kind of overlooking that. And now we've seen a couple of terrible games that are in the category of adult games. Let's see. And double and attack. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Undermine, which looks like it's a dungeon crawler with I can't really even call this pixel graphics. I couldn't even really call this a 16-bit pixel graphics. It's a little bit pixely, but that's kind of it. It has a level of smoothness to it. I don't know this developer, I don't know this publisher, but this actually looks interesting to me. It's already very positive. Its early access is $13.49. English, German, and Portuguese Brazil. I'm putting this one on the follow list, and we'll keep an eye on it. If it comes out in early access, I think Undermine might be the next Spelunky style game. They managed to kill my character somehow, as I figured would happen. Tech Raptor has the same article. Animal Crossing like a garden story is being published by Rose City Games and Viz Media. They're calling it an Animal Crossing game, where to me it looked more along the lines of a Zelda game, but I guess they would know better than I did. Yep. Here is the bundle, by the way, that's available from September through September 3rd. $20 in US for 20 packs and a legendary, random legendary.
That didn't go as
I believe it's probably not a terrible sale if you buy packs, but it's a terrible idea to buy packs for Hearthstone, like I said. TechRaptor has an article here. Grobo is an attractive puzzle platformer with great gravity mechanics. We've seen quite a few gravity mechanics games coming out lately. Let's see. This seems like this is more of a mobile game, and it's not out yet, so this is kind of a hype article. The one gravity game I'd really like to play would be Gravity Rush, and that was like a PlayStation exclusive, so I don't think Gravity Rush
is too full.
would ever make it to PC, unfortunately. It'd be nice if it did. Maybe Gravity Rush 2 did make it to PC, but then you're in that weird position. Moving on, Gravity Rush, by the way, is a 3D gravity game in a 3D world, compared to most gravity games being a 2D world. Gamasutra has an article here. Starbreeze has posted a 6.6 million loss amid its ongoing restructuring. Starbreeze in the last 4 years or so went from we're going to be this giant publisher, we're going to make all these deals, to we're totally out of money and we're basically approaching bankruptcy. So whoever was running Starbreeze really didn't know what they were doing. Gamasutra has the same article we talked about before. Denuvo is launching a new mobile game security solution to help devs prevent tampering. Honestly, I don't think there's an incredibly large amount of tampering that is happening. I guess there's probably a decent amount of stealing of paid games off Android, but I would bet the indie level of equivalency of what you would have for many other styles of storefronts and products. Okay.
Right away. Oh.
Alright. Now, how do I save myself from miserable death? You kill that first. That does 3 damage. And nothing else I do matters. I've lost.
My hand is too full.
Tech Raptor has an article here. One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows, manages to balance Saitama. Saitama being the main character of One Punch Man, who defeats everything in one punch and is disappointed by that. So here are the weird collection of heroes and villains that you fight or that you see in the One Punch TV series or the anime. So he's just standing there letting him punch, and then he hits one hit and KOs him. They're bringing in more characters from the anime, from the manga, which I think helps having a fighting game around One Punch Man. One Punch Man actually kind of makes a lot of sense as a fighting game spin-off. So yeah, I would be cool with playing that, I guess, but wouldn't be really my first pick. I would definitely rather play Dragon Ball FighterZ first, or even the Kill la Kill IF game. If you are going to get into One Punch Man, I would say watch the first season of the anime, and you're probably fine to then move into the manga, or just read the manga alone. The second season was done cheaply, from what I hear, and the animation suffered greatly because of that. And the game spin-off can only do so much to expand that kind of universe. Speaking of universes, Disney and Sony failed to reach a deal, so apparently Spider-Man, who was set up to be in the MCU, is again outside of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which this is which might affect in some ways the video game universe a little bit, but not much, because I'm fairly certain that the Spider-Man video game license is separate from the Spider-Man Marvel license. So the Spider-Man video games will still happen, and I don't think Sony Interactive Entertainment would have bought the developer of the most recent Spider-Man game if they weren't in a good position to make another Spider-Man game. But who knows, I guess Sony Interactive Entertainment could have not done their due diligence on the contracts. Moving on, we have a game on Steam here called Mystic Mayhem Unleashed, which looks like it's an MS Paint platforming game that, again, a lack of understanding and color here. In particular, you can't even tell the foreground platform versus the background platform easily. It's just terrible looking and way too much red in the screen. Discounted to $4.49, English only, full audio. So yeah, sorry I paused there. So of course that's not making it to the follow list. Next we have a game on Steam called Stones of Solace, which this might be a kind of small, low effort game, puzzle game, I guess, or there might be something here. Seems like you're just dragging and dropping things. A minimalistic and contemplative ritual offering you a quiet space for relaxation. Yeah, this feels like it's one of those meditation apps that you see advertised a lot on YouTube. It's like, use this meditation app. This is free to play with no in-app purchases in English, so I guess it's priced right. But yeah, it's incredibly small. It's incredibly small Zen flower arrangement app. and I have really no interest in that at all.
Let the pain speak to me.
Yeah, people are getting into what they're calling transcendental meditation, or just meditation in general, or other kinds of meditation more and more, and I think it's just, in a lot of ways, the latest California fad. Yeah. Next we have a Gamatsu article. The Bradwell Conspiracy launches for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC this fall. I feel like I've heard of the Bradwell Conspiracy, but then quickly forgot about it amongst all the other news for all the other games, which just never really stops. It really never stops. So it's like a office space in a business. Maybe the business is run by the Illuminati. This trailer's not really giving me a lot of information. It's made by a team of BAFTA award-winning AAA veterans with the likes of Fable, Batman, and Tomb Raider under their collective development belts. So it might have more production chops behind it, but it might not. You kind of never know. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has an article here. Phoenix Labs acquires Bot School Incorporated to further Dauntless crossplay efforts. I'd forgotten about Dauntless. I have no idea who Bot School Incorporated or Phoenix Labs are, though. So that's too inside baseball for me. Gamatsu has the Control launch trailer. It's due out August 27th. So we're about 4 days, I believe, away from the game Control coming out. There feels like there is a very good chance that they come out and say that Control is not in any ways as good as it's been hyped up to be. I would totally believe that. It could also just be a really short experience. That's always a chance too. But remember, I think the developers of Control, the last game they made, was also a very fancy looking game that played terribly and had crazy like time manipulating effects that didn't really work that well, and Control is going to be crazy different styles of effects too. So it might just be a case that the developers of Control are not capable of making a good game first, and are only really capable of making something look interesting. I'm about to die again. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article here. Homeworld 20th Anniversary Special Announcement has been set for PAX West 2019. I'd have to kind of remind myself what Homeworld is. I think it's a space 4X style game. This trailer doesn't mean anything. It is getting published noticeably by Gearbox.
What have we?
So I don't know where I really am. Am I boycotting all Gearbox games forever, or am I just boycotting games that are being published by 2K? I think I'm in a big question mark right now, so I think I am boycotting Gearbox games too, just to be on the safe side, because I cannot in good conscience swear that I know it was just 2K with no influence from Gearbox that put over 100 false DMCA strikes on that YouTuber's channel. cannot do anything to survive this. If I play this again, I'll just heal everything and then do damage again, so I have to do that. And then end the turn. It's not too hard to also avoid Gearbox published and Gearbox made games, particularly if you're already boycotting Borderlands. Gamatsu has an article here for the PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. Eternal Blade 2 launches October 11th. Eternal Blade 2, this is... I can't even really tell what this is. It's like a snake head with a gear ring around it with like human arms. This looks like an MMO style game. Might be something here interesting. The trailer graphics look slightly interesting, but what does the actual game look like? It looks like a zoomed out platformer. I was not expecting that. Well, there might be something to that. Again, I'm definitely not going to get hyped on Eternal Blade 2. I should probably check to see if there's an Eternal Blade 1 before I would go any further with anything.
Not too quickly.
Your rage sustains.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Public Enemy Revolution Simulator, which looks like it is a low-effort asset flip game. I would not be upset with a Revolution Simulator game, or a game where you play as a revolutionary. That probably would be a little bit harder to sell in many countries if you're trying to actually make money. But you do something like that and you do Mirror's Edge. You do something like that and you do Jet Set Radio. You have a good gameplay mechanic around it, and none of these videos want to reload, but yeah, just looking at the thumbnails, I can pretty much tell you that there's nothing really here as far as gameplay. This is a free game, English only, which is odd because they're putting some form of Russian style text on the wall, it looks like, so that seems weird, to say the least. Attack here.
Our tombs.
And in the turn. Gamatsu has an article here for the PS4. The Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel 3, The Bonds Between Us trailer is now available, so another hype anime trailer from Disgaea. I'm gonna leave this open because I want to see if any of the Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel series have come to PC before. Because I think they have. They may just be a little bit further behind. And yeah, I am just beating my head against the wall today, trying to get victories. Theoretically, it doesn't matter too much if I don't get the victories, because I could do them on Friday, but I don't want to have 3 daily quests on the European account and 3 daily quests on the Asian account on a Friday.
Versus Anduin. The light shall bring
It did occur to me, instead of starting really late today, to stream actually rather early at like 10 in the morning when I was just about to go to sleep. I just didn't feel like I had enough energy in me to accomplish that and do 3 hours of streaming. TechRaptor has a story. I heard about this and didn't know the whole details. Square Enix has apparently canceled the game tournament, I believe in Japan, after death threats to the staff. There's been a slightly increased amount of death threats being put out in Japan, or Japanese people have started just claiming they're getting death threats and taking them seriously, particularly after the Kyoto Animation arson attack, which, by the way, they were able to recover like 75 pencil sketches, which is not a lot, and put them on display from that arson attack. But they were also able to recover all the digital stuff, which would have been a lot more in drawings. I believe, yeah, the story here is that another man was arrested for threatening to kill staff because he spent over $2,000 trying to unlock a specific item in the gacha game. So it's microtransaction rage in some cases, and just bad business practices, which I would imagine Japan is really bad about treating its staff and its consumers well. America's not much better either, though. So yeah. The show must go on. Attitude probably needs to be adapted a little bit more for some of these events. If you're spending money, if you're renting places, if you're going to have an event, you can't cancel it just because random people online are making threats. That's a matter for the police to actually either protect you or arrest that person. But if you give the power to random people where they can swat people or where they can make threats, no event eventually will ever happen, ever. And living in fear is no way to live your life. Gematsu has an article for the Switch. Waku Waku Sweets Physical Edition launches this winter in North America. Never heard of this game, but it looks more child focused if I was to guess. Seems like it's a pastry style game. Yeah, like maid cafe type experience. Now, I could be totally wrong here, and it could actually not be child friendly, but looking at this trailer, it seems like it's a cooking simulator for the Switch, which this is the part where Cooking Mama kind of confused me too, is how are the motions going to work. 100 recipes. Yep, it seems like they're keeping everything kid friendly. They're also going to a slightly older late 90s, early 2000s, even mid 2000s art style, which is a little bit off of what you would normally see as far as animation styles from Japanese games and Japanese animators. If this guy's not playing, that's great, because that means we're in a good position to actually maybe win.
I got this.
TechRaptor has an article. Pokemon Sword and Shield new battle mechanics are shown at Pokemon Worlds. So there's a video here. Battle mechanics and what the game's gonna look like. And there's the gigantic evolutions, or the Dyna evolutions, or whatever they're called. Pokemon Shield and Sword is coming out November 15th for the Switch, in case anybody hasn't heard that. This and this. Attack.
I got this.
Attack. Pokemon doesn't really need more hype, but I'll give it to it anyways, since it kind of deserves it, being such a popular series. Gematsu has an article for the Switch. Flowers Les Quartet Saisons is coming to the Switch November 28th. Flowers, the 4 seasons, I think is what that translates from French. This looks like a more soft pencil sketch style visual novel. Yep, so another visual novel coming to the Switch. Not super surprising there.
Your rage sustains.
And there we got a win. Was that the one win I needed, or do I need another one? I need another one. I have about 12 more things to talk about, so if once we finish the news, that'll just be the end of this stream, and then I could be potentially halfway through this daily quest for Friday. Gamatsu has an article, Damascus Gear Operation Osaka is coming to the Switch August 29th in Japan. This looks like it's a mech battler game. Now the screenshot might be very deceptive because this is the menu, so I kind of want to see what the gameplay looks like, and they don't have any trailer. There is a Steam page though, so we could get an idea from that. It's mostly positive. Jump through this stuff. Yeah, it seems like it's kind of a top-down, fast-paced mech battler game. I'm willing to consider that. $19.99 HD edition, full Japanese audio. It's rated mostly positive. This is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, though. I certainly don't find good mecha games very often, let alone play mecha games much at all. I'll put it on the wish list, though. I'm gonna be generous. Of course, one of these days my generosity is gonna end in me having to do a wish list cleanup video, but that's fine. That's gonna happen regardless. So yeah. And there's a reason now to think about playing that game since it's coming to the Switch, and give it a second consideration, which almost certainly there's probably 1,000 games on Steam that I've overlooked that if they are actually good and they actually bother to come to the Switch or some other platform, could bring my attention back to them. But I'm hardly trying to have a complete collection of video game experiences also, so if I miss a few, I miss a few. It doesn't really matter. Speaking of games to miss, though, here's a game on Steam called They Will Find You. The dark screenshot syndrome by far. Just terrible graphics, top-down, asset flip tiles. It just looks terrible in every single shot. $2.99 discounted, English only. This is a game definitely not making it to the fall list. Alright.
I must consider.
Let's play this.
Let the pain speak to
And
me.
then
Is
this.
someone injured?
This. And then do that. So last stream we had a game called, I think it was Championship Drone Racing or something. It was an actual, like, based off some drone racing championship game, and it was like the first good-looking drone racing game I've ever seen. But I think it required VR, or it suggested VR, which was weird. Now we have Unreal Drone Racing, which is just a low-effort asset flip drone racing game in comparison, and this is what we've mostly seen. It's also been a really long time since I've seen anything that has the powered by the Unreal Engine logo in front of it, which is to say most things are either not getting made by the Unreal Engine or they are not getting released under the free license or the license of Unreal, where they have to put the logo at the beginning of the game. That might be, it might be the case that you never have to put the logo at the beginning of an Unreal game anymore, and they're just trying to use that as a selling point. but it's not a very great selling point, and the quality of the screenshots and the way the game looks otherwise is still terrible. This game is $7.99 discounted, English only, and yeah, it's definitely not a drone racing game to replace or supplant the other drone racing games we saw. Let's see. I'm just gonna do this, and then I'm gonna hit this, and then hit this, and then hit that. Gamatsu has an article. Single-player card game Cardpocalypse has been announced for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, and Apple Arcade. This looks like this might be an interesting game. Kind of a I don't know if you would want to call it Simpsons or South Park style mentality. It looks like in the art style in the game.
I wonder.
Game themes. There might be something here, there might not. The problem with a card game like this is either it's going to be a quick one playthrough for a single player experience, or it's going to fail as an attempted competitor to a lot of other card games out there, including Hearthstone.
Not too quickly.
That, and hit that. And then join. So yeah, when this comes out, I'll keep an eye out for it. But there's definitely a lot of card games out there already, and this could just fall into the mess of so many other card games that already exist. Next we have a Gamatsu article, and I want to mention that yes, I am realizing that a significant amount of articles are coming out from Gamatsu. I think I like that. I think I'm sticking with that. We are still following TechRaptor, we are still following Gamma Sutra, but that's pretty much the only three video game journal sites that I'm even bothering to follow at this point, and I'm not even really in the market to try and find another one that doesn't drive me crazy with a bunch of political editorializations. Alright, now I'm in a weird position because we have a little bit more news and we have nothing to do on the Asian account, so I'm going to switch back to the European account and we'll work on getting that part done. And while we're doing that, we have a Gamatsu article here for the PC, PS4, smartphone, Switch, and Xbox One. I guess that's everything until you throw in Stadia or some other service.
Come tell us a story.
A mystery adventure game, Hitchhiker, has been announced for all of those things, including Apple Arcade. I guess they need to throw in Apple Arcade too. Excuse me, I'm wearing out my voice. Here we have the trailer and we can look at this. It feels like there's been several games, and this is kind of asset flippy, low polygon. There have been several games where you've ridden down a road, but now we're seeing something that looks like completely different, something medieval. So I have no idea what Hitchhiker is, but we'll see it. Alright, now this is going to be really weird because I need the warrior, and because the warrior is pretty much the only thing that would equip weapons short of the rogue's special ability, and I have to play 6 weapons. I don't think that's really going to happen. Revolution Software put out a trailer for Beyond the Steel Sky, the sequel to like the 20-year-old point-and-click adventure Beneath the Steel Sky. This is a new trailer if you're interested in it. It doesn't seem like this trailer is showing much more than previous trailers. It's coming to PC, consoles, and Apple Arcade. Now, let's re-roll all of these and see if we can get a weapon. I don't even know if there are any weapons in this deck. Gamatsu has an article, the Pokemon Sword and Shield Gamescom Gala Region Town Tour video message. So if you want to watch them give a little bit of a town tour, you could look at that. You're really spoiling yourself for the game though. It's just play the game. That's really all it takes. Let's play this and see if that counts as equipping the weapon or not. And so that would put us at a count of 1, question mark. Gamatsu has an article, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered, 8 minutes of gameplay. A lot of this is from just Gamescom stuff. So this is the 8 remaster, not the 7 remaster. I think 8 actually is closer to being out than the 7 remaster. So the whole thing is kind of weird, and confusion abound. Yeah, Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is September 3rd for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. I'm fairly certain that the characters and story from 8 have nothing to do with 7, so it's not a major issue, but it still is weird to say the least. To have 2 releases and them being backwards, chronologically speaking.
What shall we hunt?
Next we have a Gamatsu article for the PS4, Switch, and Xbox One. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire Ultimate Edition has been announced. Definitely heard of people liking Pillars of Eternity, but I couldn't really tell you what it is. I'm so overwhelmed as far as games. This is just E3 all over again, and that trailer showed absolutely nothing there. They really should get rid of E3 for many reasons, but probably get rid of PAX and Gamescom also, and just have a much more spread out announcements of games. If every week there was a new major game announced and a new major game came out, that would be fine. Particularly if it was just counter-programmed, so that if a new sports game came out, say Madden came out that week, then you put something that's highly nerd-focused that sports people wouldn't really be interested in as an announcement. Let's see. Gamatsu has an update on the previous article. Monster Ranch port is slated for Switch, iOS, and Android. Let's see what the update is. This is what Monster Rancher looks like, by the way. That's pretty awful. Update, it will cost 1,760 yen, which is about $20. Generate monsters. You search for CD names from a custom database through the network. You can also download and battle the monsters raised by breeders all over Japan. The Switch version also supports 2-player battles with 1 Joy-Con per player. So, I mentioned previously, Monster Rancher created the monsters by putting a CD into the PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2. You can't really do that with the Switch, so instead you're just going to search the names of albums of CDs you like. I guess that kind of works via a database. Although maybe it doesn't really work, because then when they have to have the license to all of those CDs, names, and titles, maybe not. Maybe that's not a copyright issue if you just have the title in Japan. So maybe you end up searching that database and finding it's a bunch of made-up CD names, and none of them have any relevancy. And very quickly you would see people online saying, type this, and type this to get the best monsters. Next we have an article from Komatsu, Gungrave Gore D23 screenshot. It's a screenshot of a gun from the Gungrave PS4 game that's coming out, which I imagine is somewhat related to the Gungrave anime, maybe manga. So I should have played now, I believe, 2 weapons out of 6. If it counted right. Next we have an article on Komatsu for the PS4, PC, Switch, and Xbox One. Contra Rogue Corps digital pre-order and season pass have been announced. There was this female character that caught my eye as a Contra Rogue Corps, and this character catches my eye too, certainly. So it feels like this is the story here, is this is a Contra game with different heroes than what you would see in a regular Contra game. But looking at this gameplay, it seems like this is more of a top-down twin-stick shooter with different kinds of enemies that I've never really seen before in a Contra game. I don't recognize that, and a bunch of just random heroes. So it feels like they're using the Contra name Konami is, and this sounds like something Konami would do, definitely, is that they're just using the title of Contra to sell something that is a completely new and different game.
Unity, precision, perfection.
And I don't know if I really want to support Konami, but yeah, it looks like it might be a slightly interesting game if there's a single player experience for me. Otherwise, I'm not interested in it. It looks like it's mostly focused on multiplayer experience though. Gamatsu has an article, One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows, adds terrible tornado, Silver Fang, and Atomic Samurai. So 3 new characters were confirmed as far as heroes to play. One thing I will applaud One Punch Man for doing versus, say, the Amazon series The Boys, which might be based off a comic book. The Boys basically just copied the Justice League down to every little detail, whereas One Punch Man specifically spent a lot of efforts to think of weird, different superheroes. And the only superhero in One Punch Man that even looks somewhat similar is the main character, Saitama. Kind of looks like a Superman, but he can't fly or see through things or have X-ray vision. All he can do is punch really hard. So honestly, he's closer to he's closer to a much lesser known superhero that can just punch really hard. The one with Jessica Jones, what was his name? Not Daredevil for sure, not Jessica Jones, not the Punisher. I want to say Black Dynamite is I think who I'm referencing, because Black Dynamite, I believe, if the name is right, had like basically impenetrable skin and was really strong. And that's pretty much all Saitama from One Punch Man can do. And the color palette is actually a little bit similar. I'm about to die, but if we could play one more weapon, that would be great.
Let the pain speak to me.
There we go. We'll draw cards and see if we can get a weapon. Nope. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article, Code Vein PS4 and Xbox One demos launch September 3rd. The full game is due out September 27th. Code Vein is losing some of its hype, I would say, as the spiritual successor to Dark Souls, and I think the actual successor as far as talent to Dark Souls, because it is more of an anime vampire game than I think anybody in the West really is willing to accept. It needs to get a little bit more hype coming out around it as it's approaching its launch date. Again, it's a weird example. So that was just one weapon. So if we were to play the rogue here and use the rogue's ability, would we get a weapon that way, or is that not count? I bet it doesn't count. So yeah, Code Vein needs to probably get more hype around its release, and probably will get a little bit, but if you stop the hype train in the middle of building up all that momentum, you're doing yourself a disservice, in my opinion. I'm just gonna retrade all these just in case there actually is a weapon in the rogue deck. Almost certainly there isn't. Moving on as we're trying to finish these articles. Gamatsu has Dragon Ball Z Kakarot Gamescom 2019 trailer screenshots. By the way, even the Gamatsu person who runs their Twitter account said, actually I overslept and that's why I put out all of the tweets in a row. So the reason why I'm covering so many Gamatsu articles is also in part around that idea that he put out a lot of tweets to news stories. But yeah, we're almost done. Gamatsu has an article, One Piece Pirates Warriors 4 Gamescom trailer and screenshots. I would put One Piece as a fighting game at the very bottom, because unlike One Punch Man, One Piece has been going on so long that it has way too many characters, and the animation style is too weird. This looks like this is a Warriors beat-em-up game anyways, and I guess that would potentially work better for One Piece and Monkey D. Luffy anyways. So actually, as a Warriors game, I'm much more sold on this idea than I would be if it was a fighting game singly. I still would probably feel a little awkward playing a One Piece game, but I'd give it a chance if it came to PC, which I guess it is. So I guess it deserves at least a thought. I played out of order again.
Well played.
That was not a well played by any means. Let's see. Gamatsu has an article. Marvel Avengers A Day Prologue Gameplay Walkthrough. Nobody really talked about this game theory walkthrough, so I'm assuming that the graphics still look disappointing and uninteresting. I don't know if I'm playing the God of Thunder Thor. Do I want to have to spin up my hammer to throw it? Do I have to punch and kick a character multiple times? Do I have to hold down quick and time events to lift the thing? Like the entire gameplay immediately feels slow and limited. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's really a game here that people want to play. And it probably needs a lot more work than it's been given. I needed to use my hero ability every turn here, and I'm not. This will be the last game, almost certainly. Komatsu has an article, Trials Rising Crash and Sunburn expansion launches September 10th for the Trials Rising fans out there. Let's see. Lackeys. Attack.
Here we go.
Attack. Komatsu has an article for the PC. Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign has been announced. I've never heard of the Knights of Iron series. It's coming from THQ Nordic. Let's see if this trailer actually gives us any indication on what it really looks like to play it. Here you have a really fancy trailer, which THQ Nordic obviously thinks they can afford. But yeah, no gameplay image whatsoever in that. Hit this and
Well played.
this
Here we go.
and hit that.
Well
Another
played.
turn. Let's go ahead and squelch this guy because he's getting annoying. Game of Sutra has an article. PUBG is rolling out console crossplay to the Xbox One and PS4 this year, which I'm surprised, and I guess I'll probably believe it when I see it. I'm surprised that the PS4 console crossplay is a thing that's anywhere close to actually happening. But yeah, just because PUBG can do it doesn't mean that Sony will let everybody do it. That's pretty much the attitude they've been taking. We have a game on Steam here called S-Lander, which looks like it's a kind of FTL clone. Interesting. It feels like this is a straight up FTL clone. I don't know. I'll put it on follow. Like, I liked FTL. I did not win at FTL very often, so an easier FTL might be interesting instead of trying to go back and playing the same game over and over again, particularly since I've seen almost all the content that exists there. This is $8.99. It requires a third-party EULA, English full audio. I'll put it on the follow list. We'll see if people buy it and give it a review. I wouldn't be surprised being an FTL looking clone if the graphics are not... Well, the graphics look fine, but wouldn't be surprised if the game itself is not very polished. Let's see.
This is our town, scrub.
Needed to use my
Here
hero
we
ability
That's
every
not a
turn.
valid target.
That's what I want to do. Komatsu has an article for the PS4 and Switch. Moto New Puzz Ostomatsu-san Shippin Soto Sugyo Kikaku has been announced for the PS4 and Switch, due out December 5th in Japan. As a long Japanese name, by far. It looks like it's kind of a Candy Crush style game. I wouldn't be surprised if this was completely reskinned and sold as a completely different game in the West. That's definitely not a name I recognize. And TechRaptor has an article. Devil May Cry is amongst the newest additions to the Xbox Game Pass. Devil May Cry 5, that is. If you're interested in that bit of information. That brings me to the Humble Bundle. So, let's see. What bundles do we have? Any new game bundles? Nope, no new game bundles at all. Close that, close that, close that, was that? There was 4 different tabs open around just the installing the Great Suspender again. Let's see. Now I'm on my Twitter feed. Using this. Do this. Do
This guy's toast.
You looking at me?
this.
This is our town.
Here we go.
You looking at me?
That's my turn.
Move quickly.
So we've got some more Gamatsu articles coming out, and some more games that came out on Steam. I'm just going to scroll down my Twitter and see if any of it's that important, as we're still trying to get this all done.
Look out there!
There we go. How many weapons did I use there? None. None whatsoever. So, yeah, it would be easier for me to just make a deck full of weapons than it would be to try to play any existing deck that barely has any weapons to get that daily quest done. But as I said much earlier, I was just probably going to re-roll that anyways because it's not worth it. TechRaptor has an article from 3 hours ago. Oddworld Soulstorm is an Epic Game exclusive. Devs preemptively addressed the backlash. There are also came out, the developer of the game Dark came out to say specifically that they were offered to be an Epic Games exclusive and turned it down because of backlashes. Yeah, and I think that's pretty much it. So there's a few things we'll talk about on Friday, not really anything that needs to be talked about right now. So that's going to be it for this stream. We didn't go too late, considering I started late. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game on my wish list. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.